we just did a month of takedowns. Now we're going to get into a month of closed guard fundamentals. Just like we did breakdown of some component movements for takedowns, we're going to do some breakdown of component movements that will make all these techniques way more effective. So the first one is bridging. When I talk about people bridging, I see all sorts of weird things. It's very, very simple. All we're going to do is we're going to have our back to the mat, knees together. The closer my heels are to my butt, the better. And I lift my hips to the ceiling. All right, so we're doing arm bars. We're not legs crossed all out here. Knees together, heels to butt, belly button to ceiling. I'm squeezing my glutes to bring my hips up. Okay? All right, so the next component movement is when we're turning to create our angles in doing an arm bar. A lot of times people are moving their hips out. Now, I want to have a convex back. I want to have as little surface area touching the mat as possible. So if I'm here with my back completely flat, there's a lot of surface area touching the mat. It's very hard to turn. So the first thing I want to do is tense up my abs so there's very little touching. Now, I'm going to imagine this is the foot in my opponent's hip, and I'm pressing off this foot to turn myself this way. This leg stays up, and I turn myself 90 degrees here. Pull back, the opposite. I'm pushing off this leg, turn myself 90 degrees this way. And notice my hips don't come out when I turn. That is where a lot of people have trouble with this. So convex back, I'm pushing off this leg, turning 90 degrees, turning 90 degrees. Okay. The shoulder rolls, especially when a lot of people are starting out, they're doing somersaults like you learned in elementary school, which is directly over our neck, which puts yourself in a bit of danger because you're putting all your weight on your neck. So when we do shoulder rolls, I want to kick my head off to one side, and I'm rolling over the shoulder that my head is away from. Okay, so this is, my head is off this way, I'm rolling over this shoulder. To help visualize this, my hand's going to go between my knees, palm up, just rolling that way. I'm going to roll over this shoulder, my head goes this way, this palm goes down, this hand goes down, palm up. Just rolling over my shoulder like that. So when we say shoulder rolls, it's head off to one side, going over one shoulder. The next drill will help with our omoplatas is a lot of times people are struggling to sit up and they're trying to do it all with their abs. Especially if I'm trying to get my opponent down, I'm going to kick out very assertively and sit up with it. So instead of just kicking out and then sitting up, I'm kicking out and timing it. So I'm using my muscles together. This will help me later. So I'm kicking out and then sitting up. Kicking out and sitting up. And the last one is leg pummeling. So I'm making this figure eight motion with my legs, both inside and outside. Notice as I get good at this, my hips turn. This will help us in our triangle setups. I need to be able to switch, go both ways. These are all things you can do at home by yourself that will make all of these techniques much more effective. All right, so like we talked about, we're going to be doing a whole month of closed guard. I want to talk about how to be properly in somebody's guard. Now, I know especially when a lot of people start, there's some flexibility issues and people feel really weird about being up in somebody's crotch. What I want, the things I want to focus on when I'm in somebody's guard, I want to have a steady base. So I see a lot of people, a lot of space between their heels and their butt and their knees together like this. I'm very unstable, asking to get swept. A lot of the sweeps I initiate are conditioned on me getting somebody to this state to begin with. So if I want to be attacking when I'm in somebody's guard position, I have to have a stable base. And what that means is I want a nice triangle between my knees and my feet, and I want my butt down on my heels as much as I can. Now when we talk about posture, what that means is head over hips. So if I'm bent over like this, I'm in the danger zone. I want to have my head over my hips, almost with this kind of very straight back and looking up. I want my elbows inside. So how this is going to look when I'm in Marcus's guard here, I have that nice base, the triangle, legs on either side. I've got my butt down to my heels. Okay, I've got my good posture with my head up. Now, I want to make sure that my elbows are inside his legs. A lot of his attacks are based on getting his elbows out and getting them across. Okay, I want to make sure that my elbows are in. I have some control around his belt, whether that's hand posted on hips or I'm actually grabbing material, I want to make sure my elbows are in and these are helping me maintain my posture. All right, so now that I have Marcus in my guard, we're going to work through a very basic chain that will eventually become a warm-up drill. It's called Around the World. Arm bar, omoplata, triangle, back to arm bar. All right, so there are a million ways to do this. I'm going to focus on one specific way that's pretty detail oriented that will help you guys learn some key concepts. All right, so Marcus is here. He's in my guard. He's got his good base. He's got his good posture. All right. His goal is to maintain his posture. My goal is to break his posture and create angles. And when I say angles, right now our hips are in line this way and they're in line this way. I want to create as many angles as I can by moving myself relative to Marcus. Now I have opportunities to attack. Marcus's goal is to maintain his posture and nullify those angles as much as he can. Okay? So that's a core principle that we're going to be going over and over again. All right, so first thing I need to do is remove Marcus's post and start breaking down his posture. One way I can do that is I'm going to grab same side wrist. Now if I have knee material, I'm going to grab the material, it's a better grip, but I want to grab same side wrist, palm down. I'm going to grab opposite side tricep. Okay, again, if I have gi and I can grab gi material, this is better. Okay, now I want to remove this post. If I just keep yanking, it's not going to work. So what I want to do is I want to hip up and pull this up as I do. Now that this is out, I'm going to drag this across my belly button as I pull Marcus in with my legs. So I see a lot of people doing all upper body. It's my arms versus Marcus's back. He's going to win every freaking time. Okay? I pull this up with my hips. I break with my arms. Now, as I pull him in with my knees, all this does is guide it past my midline. Okay? I've started creating my angles. I've guided this past my midline. I'm going to make sure I'm squeezing my lat very tight. I've broken his posture down. The hand that's on his wrist is going to come over to his trap and keep his posture broken. Okay? Marcus's goal is to get his elbow back past my midline. And he still has a fighting chance to do that. Okay, so the smoother I do this, and the stronger these grips, the better chance I have. Okay? Notice my guard is closed this entire time. Okay? Only now when I'm ready to move on do I open my guard. Now whatever arm I'm attacking, that foot goes to Marcus's hip and I pinch my knees. Now I have all this bone and muscle in between Marcus and his elbow and where his elbow wants to go. So he's never going to get his arm back, if I'm squeezing. Okay? Now I do my turn like we talked about. I make my convex back. I turn 90 degrees and I'm biting down across Marcus's shoulder with this hamstring curl. Okay, now he's never going to be able to posture back up. All right? The hand that's on his shoulder presses into his face. His foot comes over. I want knees together, heels to butt. I want to know where Marcus's thumb is. Ideally, I want his thumb pointing to the ceiling, and I hip up for the arm bar. Okay? Now, anybody who's any good knows that the best defense to this is to pull out. He needs to get his elbow past my crotch nut so the arm bar goes away. Anybody who's any good knows that the best time to do that is when I start to turn. So that's what Marcus is going to do. Grab my grips, hip up, drag across, secure it. Marcus knows what's coming. So as I'm here, as I push on his face, he's going to pull out. Okay? Totally fine. I don't give up. I move on to the next technique. I have this on. Okay, so what I need to make sure that I do is I'm knees together, heels to butt. I'm going to hip up, drag this across and put this in my pocket. I'm going to make sure that I have control of this tricep. I need to keep this arm in my pocket. Okay? Next thing I need to do is I need to create my angle so that I'm 180 degrees different from Marcus. I need to control his leg somehow to shut down some of his escapes. If I don't control the leg, he's going to roll out. Okay? So whatever I can get, even if I have to come up underneath, I need to control this leg somehow. Now, I'm going to hip up again and turn myself 180 degrees, making sure this arm stays in my pocket. Okay? And now we did that kick up and sit out drill. I need to do this very authoritatively, kick out this way and sit up. When I transition from my leg, my arm, or my leg, from his leg, his hip, as we go. Okay? Now, if I do that kick and Marcus stays in that turtle position, it's not the end of the world. Okay? I just have to add an extra step. Okay? So he's here turtled up. I need to make sure that I keep control of this. I'm going to scoot my butt in a crescent motion until his ear comes down to the mat. Once that happens, I'm back in business. I sweep my legs out to the side like this. I'm making sure this stays in. Okay? The hand that's over his hips. Push to the mat. I'm going to touch this knee to the mat near his ear. My hips are going to come up. I'm going to go very nice and slow. Look, Marcus is already tapped. There's a lot of pressure here. He taps. Okay, so that's the omoplata. Now, the next counter to the omoplata, right, is as I go to sit up and kick out, he wants to start building up. Okay, he's going to start to get his posture back. Okay, so arm bar, he pulls out. Put it in my pocket. I go to turn, he starts to posture up. Okay, it's not the end of the world. Knee that's over his head. I take that knee, I put it in his far ear. Okay, and now I need to hip up again and do my leg pummel drills to switch my hips. I need to cross my legs somehow. If I can lock them up here, that's great. If not, it's not the end of the world. Okay, Alec, I want you to come over here so you get some of this detail, please. Thank you. Now, in order for me to finish this triangle, I need to, number one, make sure the distance between his chin and my crotch is as small as possible. Okay, so I'm going to hip up. I'm going to then take this arm and take it across the body and lock it in. So the shoulder's taking up this space here. Now, notice I still have my legs crossed. Okay, I need to get this tighter so that my shin is actually in my back of my knee here, and I need to create another angle. So right now we're perfectly in line. I need to turn myself 90 degrees. So keeping control of this tricep, I take this hand, I grab my shin, always my shin, never my foot. I grab my shin on the inside of my leg, and I make this connection here, because this way when I unlock and he postures back up, he's still broken down. If I don't have this and he postures up, he's out. Okay? So I need to make sure I have this connection before I unlock. This foot goes into his hip. Now, we're doing that same turn drill where I'm pushing and turning without taking my hips out. If I need to, I'm underhooking this arm to help myself turn. I'm going to turn myself as close to 90 degrees as I can, and I lock back up and squeeze my knees for the tap. If I've underhooked the arm, I'm going to get his wrist and this crook of my neck here, and I'm going to attack the arm bar while I do, so he has two bad choices. All right, so let's say that we have all that, right, and he's able to posture back up. It's not the end of the world. I can still attack an arm bar, okay? In that instance, I can't get this, so this leg turns, I come back over, and I attack the arm bar on that arm. So that's the round the world. Okay, so that was all the beginner tech for the week. Now we're going to do some intermediate tech that's counters to everything the attack that the person on bottom is doing. Okay, so like we talked about, the best defense for an arm bar is to pull that arm out. Ideally, if I can pull both arms out at the same time, I'm in good shape. What I want to avoid is having a situation where I have one arm in and one arm out. All right, that's what he needs to set up a triangle. So as Marcus goes and he sets up his arm bars, right? Boom, boom. As he goes, right, I'm pulling out and I'm getting both arms out. Okay, I want to have my head in and my arms out. Okay, I want to make sure that my chin is as low to his belly button as possible. I want his hamstrings up on my shoulders. Okay, if his hamstrings are on my biceps, I'm in trouble. All right, so I want to make sure I'm low. I've got his hamstrings up on my shoulders, and I make sure they stay there by getting tight here. Okay, now I'm in a very good position to start putting a lot of pressure on Marcus. In order for me to do that, I'll come over here real quick, please. I need to put all of Marcus's weight on his shoulders here. Now, if I'm big and strong enough, I can just posture back up and drag him up like this. If there's a size difference, what I need to do is walk and replace my knees here. Okay? So I'm putting as much weight as I can on Marcus's shoulders. Okay? Now I'm going to pick a hand. I'm going to go across. I'm going to go thumb in, grab here. If it's a no-gi situation, I'm going to grab the shoulder like this. Okay? This other hand is going to come on his tailbone here. If I can grab pin, I'm gonna grab pin. Now, I wanna make this as uncomfortable as I can. I'm being kind of nice right now because we're describing what we're doing. I wanna be sprawled out as much weight on my sternum as I can to connect that knee to Marcus's nose. He does not like this, okay? Now what I need to do is I need to walk 90 degrees and then I need to look up. When I look up, he wants me to pass. Shoulder of justice, I've already checked the hip. We're here to side control. All right, so that's the double under stack pass. Okay, that's one of the best counters to that arm bar. Okay, so now we're in the situation where Marcus has moved on to he's attacking my Kimura, or I'm sorry, the omoplata, and he's to the point where he's, sat up, okay? And I need to start building up, okay? So before he breaks my ear down, okay, I need to start posturing back up and turning back into him. I'm driving off this leg, okay? Now, as I'm driving off this leg to make sure he can't break me down again, I'm hunting for this foot. I'm gonna put it behind, I'm gonna look up. All right, Alec, I want you to come over this angle here. As it's behind, I'm looking up. I'm gonna start walking and turning and trying to connect my sternum to his hip here. As I do, I get my pass, I come to side control. Okay, that's one of the ideal ways for me to deal with this. Now, if I miss that opportunity, I can't build back up. The second best way, okay? I need to roll out of this. Okay, so I'm gonna put my nose into his gooch, the shoulder roll over this shoulder, and as I do, I'm connecting my elbow to the mat. If I don't connect the elbow to the mat, I'm handing him an arm bar. All right, I'm pausing here for demonstration purposes, but once my elbow's to the mat, I'm turning, and I'm coming up. And now we're at least in a neutral position. Okay, so that's the second counter to the omoplata. All right, so now let's talk about triangle defense. And this is going to be a bit tough for Marcus, but we will work our way through it. So Marcus has me in a triangle, okay? So the number one thing I've got to worry about is I want to maximize this distance between my chin and his belly button as I can, okay? So I need to make sure I'm looking up, I'm posturing up. If I can frame out and put weight on his shoulders, that's ideal, okay? So from here, I can start to fight for both back in, or I can say, hey, I'm gonna fight for both out and then go back to that double under stack pass. So the first defense, I need to make sure I build my posture back up, okay? I need to make sure that I don't have one arm in, one out. I address that by either going both in or going both out, all right? It's both in, just work my way back to guard, okay, and then where we started. Or if I work my way to both out, I'm working to that double under stack pass, okay? Now let's say we're a little bit further in the chain and I can't get my posture back and I can't get one in, one out. I have a limited amount of time to do something. I'm gonna put 2-on-1 on this knee. I'm gonna pin this knee to the mat. I'm going to sprawl out, look up, and walk my hips up to Marcus's head. Once I'm there, I come to side control and back control. Thanks, Albert.